Well, welcome to the BUSKA Podcast, where we talk about life and business and everything that goes into just finding the way of what you want and kind of bringing the best into your life. We're here with Jared today, and I'm really excited to talk with him because he is someone that I look up to in the way of being a person that grinds and has focus and is really, really good at making connections with people. He has a way of making people feel so comfortable and appreciated. And it just, because of that, you can see it flow into his business and into his relationships with other people, and just his outlook on how to grind and achieve is something that I've really been inspired over the last year and some change that I've known him. Jared has, how old are you, Jared?
I'm 24.
Jared's 24, and at 24, he has got his real estate license and has started his own company and has taken life by the freaking horns. And because of that, he's been able to fly on private jets and have conversations with billionaires and multi-millionaires. And it's just really, really cool to see how when you put the best intentions in life out there, things just start flowing your way and allow you to find what it is that really is going to make you feel like you're making progress in life, whatever that is. And so, Jared, I just want you to kind of talk about just the last 3 years or so, and what kind of catalysts and things in your life has led you to being where you're at today, and then we can kind of dive into what you're working on right now.
For sure. First, thanks for having me. Thanks for the awesome intro.
Yeah.
I feel like that was super hyped up, and I really appreciate it. But
No, it's all true things.
Dude, no, you're awesome, bro. The last 3 years have been nuts. Just to kind of get to where I'm at now. So in 2020, pandemic happened. I graduated high school in 2018, so 2 years later, I was going to college. I had a scholarship to go for college. I only had a scholarship that was going to cover at least a year and some change. Mm-hmm. And so I went to college, went to sign up for the next year, or went to sign up on the second year for my second semester, quickly found out that my scholarship had ran out, and I had ran up a $10,000 bill, and I'm 19, making $10 an hour cleaning cars. So
what were you majoring in when you started?
Yeah, I was going to school for architecture and interior design.
Oh.
So I'm I'm a creative at heart, and that's where my mind and heart is at all the time, is creating. And so I was architecture, building sick ass buildings, that's awesome. Mm. So I was doing that, found out I couldn't afford it, dropped out, hid it from my parents for 6 months or so, and was just pretending. I'd leave the house and pretend I was going to school, and then just drive around downtown, and
just driving around.
That's all I would do. And then I'd go to work, go clean cars. But during that time, I was dude, I'm screwed. I don't have any money saved up. My parents, God bless their heart, but they were in no position to help me out financially whatsoever. They were doing the most by letting me stay at the house for free. And so I was hey, I got to figure something out. COVID happened. Everything shut down. I was just online looking at what programs I could sign up for higher education. I just got paid. I had $800 in my bank account, and real estate school was $650. And I was bet, I'm not even going to think twice about this. I'm just going to sign up and do it. And so I signed up, did it. And then I met a friend while I was going to real estate school. Everything was shut down. There was no cars on the road, nobody. I was picking up some DoorDash, not DoorDash, but I was ordering for pickup at Panda Express. I was picking that up, and I see this green McLaren fly by me, And I was like, yo, what? Like a green McLaren during the pandemic, only car on the road. Like, I'm going to go find that car. And so I go and I somehow knew in my mind exactly where it was. So I went, found him. I was in a Jeep Wrangler that had no doors. And so I was like hanging out the car looking at that McLaren. And the dude's door just pops open. And he's like, hey, bro, you want to come check out the car? Anyways, I get out and I start talking to him, find out he's like a self-made millionaire, 23 years old, has a McLaren, Lambo, Porsche, all this stuff. And that's when my mind was like, oh, dude, like this guy you just met is like the same as you. Mm-hmm. You can do it too. And so from that point on, it was just like figuring out how can I go and achieve my lifelong dreams, like get to that point. So I did real estate. It was all right. I did great. I had a couple good years, but then 2023 came around, interest rates skyrocketed, and I got really comfortable. I stopped doing my daily tasks. I stopped taking care of my people. I stopped like everything that I was supposed to be doing that I knew I should be doing. I got super comfortable and I just like took my foot off the pedal and started to coast. And when you start to coast, like it's bad because you're either swimming or you're sinking. Like there's no neutral at all. Like the neutral does not exist. You're either going up or you're going down. And so I took my foot off the pedal. I started going down. I had all these deals lined up for the summer of 23, and like I'm not even joking, 90% of them came crumbling down. Everything fell through the cracks one way or another. It was going to be over $110,000 worth of commissions, and that out of all of that came true was like 10 grand. And I had just bought the house. I was going to go on a trip. I wanted to propose to Alexis here soon, and everything just crumbled. And I was like, bro, this is literally hell. Like this is life on hell. She was like paying for my bills. I was like struggling, negative in the bank account. It was bad. And so during that time period, I had to come back to reality and like focus, like what happened. And I mean, really what happened was I just took my foot off the gas and I started going down because I got comfortable. So that led me to start doing some side hustles. I was driving DoorDash. I was framing walls with my dad. I was cleaning houses. I was doing anything I possibly could to make $1 because I needed to pay the bills. And credit cards were all ran up. Like I was cooked. And then I was like, I'm really good at social media. Okay, let me start helping people with social media. So I started helping some people with social media. And then I met Braden, which is my business partner and one of my mentors. And he took me on to manage his social media. We blew that account up in under a year, hit over 1 million followers, hundreds of millions of views online, and drove millions and millions of dollars to his businesses. And so from that came a lot of other people asking me to help them with their accounts, help them with their social media. And so that's when I brought my cousin on, Luis, to help me start Aura Creations Marketing, which is our marketing agency. And so we started that in March, like a year ago. And from that point on, it's just been growing and growing and growing and growing. And so now it's, the marketing agency paired with, I'm not really doing real estate anymore because now the marketing stuff has me completely tied up, but working on that and then working on Braden stuff. Like we have some other really cool things in the pipeline. We have an app coming out in like 60 days. And it's been a wild journey, but this is still just the beginning. So we're really early on with everything so far, but yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I think the biggest thing that I get from hearing you talk about, where you were to where you are and kind of your goal and drive, like to continue to go, is like the idea that like you just wanted something different, and so many businesses and so many entrepreneurs are created out of the need. I think most of the time they're created out of a need of like, I'm kind of out of options in some way, shape, or form. And I love like the hustle side of you as well. And I had a similar situation where out of money, I was selling door to door, and was just hating it. But I was like decent at it, but just being super lazy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I had to pay rent, I had to do all these things, and so go out and I got 3 jobs like in a weekend, and was just working like crazy to, pay bills and things like that. And I think that's a huge, a sign of an entrepreneur or someone that can become an entrepreneur in the way of, I will just figure out how to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm willing to work really, really hard. And I always say entrepreneurs are the laziest, hardworking people in the world, because most of us work really, really hard so that we have some sort of freedom on the other side. And we hate working, but we love like the idea of what comes from working in, like the freedoms and the joy that comes from like creation,
Mm-hmm.
And being in control of that creation. I think really makes a huge difference. What do you think has been one of the catalysts that you've seen that has really helped you with your like mind frame around life or around business, or just your personal goals? What do you think helps you the most, or like kind of a secret that you found that makes your life a little bit easier?
Yeah. 2 things. I feel like first was getting around the right people. I've been super blessed and extremely grateful to be surrounded by some really awesome people. So I think living my life by the whole mantra of like a closed mouth doesn't get fed. Like I'm always the one to reach out to the cool person that I find interesting and find a way to make connections there. Like for example, when I paired up with Braden, about 2 weeks before, like reaching out and seeing if I could help him with his social media, I had met him at an open house, and I had known that he's this successful mortgage broker in the area. And he was walking in through with his wife, and I just went up to him straight up and I was like, "Oh, you're Braden. Like, I see you on Instagram all the time. Like, I love what you guys are doing over at Fulcrum. Like, how long have you guys been doing that?" And so we had like this full blown long conversation just because I was like, I have to go talk to this guy, so surrounding yourself with the right people and not being afraid to connect with people, I think is one thing. And then second, I think getting closer to God, getting closer to like with my spirituality, and that just as a whole, like levels your character up in so many different ways because of just the wisdom that comes from it, the knowledge, and just overall the way of life, like no matter what spirituality you follow, whether you're like Christian, Muslim, Mormon, whatever it is, they all kind of teach some they're not even high standards, but they set a standard for a life to be lived at. And as a man, I think it's super important for us to live up to those standards, especially in this like society that we live in today, where it's just like, I mean, the simplest way to say it, it's very demonic, and like just there's a lot of evil out there, a lot of bad stuff out there that's just wanting to pull you down. Addictions are everywhere, vices are everywhere. And so being able to connect with your highest self, whether you call that God, the universe, Jesus, whatever you want to say it, that's living with your highest self in mind is like, it leads to everything, because that covers not just you personally, but then you show up as the best version of you for your family. You show up as the best version of you for your business. You're the healthiest. Like it covers all aspects. So I'd say those 2 things are like huge keys. Right people, getting closer with God. Yeah, those are mine.
I like that. I think, yeah, the personal development and trying to live like a good, honest life really makes a huge difference. And I think that if you don't focus on those things, it's easy to be led in whatever direction someone else kind of wants for you.
Yep.
You know, but if it's something that you think about and it's in the forefront of your mind of trying to be the best version of yourself. And one thing that one of my mentors asked me to do was to write a letter to myself, talking about the person that I want to be, and how I want to be seen and how I want to be viewed, and how what I want others to remember about me, you know, when I die. And then like looking at that and trying to help and base your life around being true to that character that you want to be, and whether that be, you know, godlike or you know, living the best life in cohesion with like what God wants for you, or however that looks for you. Just trying to become the best person that you can become is something that definitely will help you in life. I really agree. I do think that one thing that you touched on, which was super important about like the Braden situation and you going up and talking with him. A lot of people think that successful people are just crazy lucky, and that a lot of time they're just given what they have. And there is always an element of luck in everything, but you have to be looking for the luck. You know, like with Braden walking into that open house, that was lucky. But you saw the luck and decided to do something about it.
100%.
You know, and that's the difference. Is like there's so much luck and or things that are being manifested into our lives, but we have to be paying attention to those opportunities and not be scared to try and capitalize on that. And you had no idea what that conversation was going to lead, but you saw an opportunity to connect with somebody that you didn't have access to at the current moment, and you took it. And like with that, things flow from that. And I think that moment of you going and talking with Braden, right? That moment was dictated months before, in the way that you were thinking about ways and opportunities and things that you needed to do to get farther, or that you wanted to try and move into. And so those thoughts, months, weeks, however long before, primed and prepared you for that exact moment. And if you weren't working on yourself, if you weren't, you know, analyzing and thinking how to become better, that moment would have came and gone, and nothing would have ever came from that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I always say that luck is when preparation and opportunity meet. So luck doesn't even exist. It's just when you're prepared and the opportunity is in front of you. When those two meet, that's luck. Like that is when that spark of luck is ignited. And that's like the entire story of my whole life. Like even when I met that guy with a green McLaren, you know, out front, I was prepared to talk to him nonstop about his car because I'm a freaking car nut and I absolutely love everything about cars. And so, you know, I was telling him stuff about his car that he probably didn't even know. That's probably not true, but you get what I'm saying. Like it's luck is truly when preparation and opportunity meet. And that's the whole name of the game. Yeah.
I know for me in business in general, everyone that I've ever met has a certain level of obsession that comes from whatever it is that they're trying to achieve. Do you think that that's something that you have as well? Do you feel like you become obsessed with the things that you're trying to learn, or is it more like a natural kind of progression for you?
No, for sure. I'm definitely like super obsessive over whatever it is that I want to be. It like my entire life, I've seen this pattern happen over and over and over and over again. Like for when I when I was in 5th grade, I got really into skateboarding, and I obsessed over skateboarding. I like watched nonstop videos. I would stay in the garage, like in the middle of winter, just practicing my ollies and my kick flips and my pop shove. It's like I was so obsessed with skateboarding, and that didn't stop for like 3 years. And in those 3 years, like I went from like barely being able to stand on a board to like throwing flips over rails on a like 8 staircase, and like getting sponsored by local skate shops and or local brands. And like, yeah, that I got super obsessed over that. Then it was like, what came next was like health, sports, and fitness. Like I got super obsessed in like weightlifting and playing football and playing sports. And so what came out of that, like I got super ripped. I was like the best looking I've ever looked. I was like the fastest I've ever been. And then, you know, fast forward over into this time frame, like I got insanely obsessed with the social media and marketing game. And now like all I can think about is how can I make other businesses money? Like that's all I think about. And so I definitely think obsession plays a huge role in some people's, like I definitely met some folks who are, you know, extremely successful in the realm of business, and they're not that type of person. I feel like it takes me less time to get places where other people wouldn't, just because of the focus and attention. That might just be my ADHD. You know, I haven't took Adderall since I was in like 7th grade, so that might play a role. But
yeah, I think that most, if not like a huge percentage of entrepreneurs or business owners have ADHD. Yeah. There has to be a statistic out there, but I bet it's within like the 95% range of all business owners have ADHD. Because you have to have some layer of focus, but you also have to have some layer of being able to pivot and like move into new things very, very quickly and problem solve in a very quick manner. And I think with ADHD, you can have things fly at you really, really quick, and you can transfer energy very, very fast because you're used to that in your life. And a way that translates, you know, in your life is you get distracted from one task to the other task to the other task. But in business, it's a blessing because something will fly in and you can focus fully on that one thing that just flew in and fix it, and then go back to this, and then something else flies in, and you can transfer energy from, you know, kind of the lower priority task to the higher priority task, like really, really fast, and just make it happen and get things done faster.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like one of the things too that like with my ADHD, I also was super obsessed with video games. And so being able to look at life as a video game and like live my life that way has been like such a game changer. Like I recently was just like yapping in my car about how life is a game, and your 2 controllers for life are your phone and your computer. Like those are the 2 control remotes to play this life that you have in front of you. And then if you play your game right, if you do the right things, you level up your character, you end up reaching higher levels of life by default, by simply leveling up your main character, you, with your tools, you know, doing everything you possibly can to level up.
And I think with that too, what a lot of people don't think about is to level up your character, you have to progress in the story, and you have to do harder things than what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
Right. And I think people assume or think that they're in this fantasy, you know, role play game, and they're in this village. They wake up and they're in this village, and they think everything in their life that they need is in that village. And the reality is that the game doesn't even start until you go on your first side quest.
Yeah.
You know? And like there's a lot of side quests in that village, but it's not going to make you a crazy strong fighter. It's not going to make you skilled at things that involve anything that doesn't that's not inside that village.
Mm-hmm.
And so going and putting yourself in those tests and putting yourself in these puzzles and putting yourself up against these bosses
Mm-hmm.
are required for you to get to another state. And
Yep.
when people think about their lives, they're not putting themselves in enough uncomfortable scenarios
Mm-hmm.
that they can learn and progress and fail, you know, because like in the video game, just like in
Mm-hmm.
life, like you're gonna attempt to overcome that boss, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the first time, and you're gonna fail. You fail again, and you learn secrets, you learn, you know, strategies of overcoming,
Mm-hmm.
and then you to get to the next boss, you have to overcome the first one.
Yep.
And that's something that I've talked about, that I've become like kind of obsessed about over the last like month or so. I call it the pain tax. Like the pain tax that is required to progress in business will always be required. And there's pain tax attached to every level of whatever it is that you want to do. Like if you want to make $100,000 a year, there's a certain level of pain tax that is always and forever will be required.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that is going to college or whether that's, you know, working through a business and level and moving up in a business and getting higher responsibilities, or starting your own business, there is a tax that will never ever go away and you have to pay.
Yeah.
And the way that I look at business and entrepreneurship is that I get a better ROI on the pain tax that I'm investing.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, it's way slower, and there's no guarantee of that ROI. You know, just like any kind of investment, there's safer investments, and then there's, you know, more risky strategic investments. And with that, but the way that I feel it is that there's still the same amount of pain either way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I think it goes back to that whole thing where I was saying where you're either sinking or you're swimming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're staying comfortable and you're staying in the familiar like the familiar reality that you're used to, there's no growth there. You're staying stagnant. Stagnation isn't neutral. Stagnation is actually you're sinking. And so it just goes back to that whole point of like every single action, thought, even breath has either a positive effect or a negative effect on your path to where you want to go. So, you know, let's say your crazy dream life is ahead of you and your absolute worst nightmare is behind you. There's this graph. I don't know. Every single breath you take, every single decision you make is either moving you forward closer to that person that you want to be, or it's moving you backwards. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that is neutral. It's either moving you this way or backwards. Are you waking up early and on time and going to the gym? That's moving you forward. Are you sleeping in and, you know, talking yourself out of going to the gym? That's moving you backwards. Mm-hmm. Like every single thing is moving you one way or the other. And if you're moving up, it's going to hurt. It's going to be super uncomfortable, but that's good because that means you're growing. Mm-hmm. That's the only way to experience growth, is to get out of your comfort zone, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And yeah, you're either sinking or you're swimming. And so I think you got to swallow that hard pill and realize that if you got a ways to go, then it's going to suck. Like I hate to tell you, like I'm in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. And it does suck at times, but at the same time, like there's nothing more rewarding than seeing progress with your baby steps and, you know, seeing the pain actually become worth it. It's super rewarding.
Exactly. I definitely agree. One thing that I think about, and I want to ask you this question, is do you ever get scared that you're going to reach a boss or a level that you won't ever get past?
No, that doesn't really scare me right now. I'm overcoming things currently that I would have never even imagined I could have overcame like 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so that has given me a ton of confidence. But to your point, no, that doesn't scare me because we live currently in the age of information. Everything that you want to learn, that you need to learn, is like literally at your fingertips from your phone, from your laptop, AI. The resources that we have in today's day and age are insane. Like truly, from my perspective, we're living in the golden ages. We have the ability to make something out of nothing with our fingertips. It's the easiest it's ever been in time. And so that doesn't worry me. The only thing that I would say worry me if it was a boss would be some unforeseen health event, where you're super sick or something. But in terms of life and business and like that type of circumstance doesn't really worry me. I've also, I'm extremely resourceful. So I hit roadblocks at least once a week. I hit a ginormous roadblock, but I'm super resourceful to the point where, for example, I hit a roadblock with an email marketing campaign that we were doing a while ago. I was like, dude, I'm stumped here. I don't know what to do. I've watched millions of YouTube videos of let me reach out to someone who I know has done tons and tons of this type of email marketing campaign, and boom, we got it fixed right there. And it was that easy. All I had to do was ask for help. It goes back to the closed mouth doesn't get fed. It's just using your resources and being resourceful, to where nothing can stand in your way.
Yeah, I need to do a way better job of that. In the way I think that I become prideful in some ways, where I think I should be able to figure this out without any help. Yeah. Or that I can do this, and I do enjoy the act of figuring things out, but there is so much value in recognizing the opportunities that you don't have to do that. It's like the kid learning from his dad's mistakes. It's you don't have to make the same mistakes as your dad if you don't want to.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I need to do a way better job of that, of reaching out and talking to mentors or people that have achieved whatever it is that I'm looking to achieve, to answer those hard questions, before I take 3 or 4 years figuring out that thing. For me, and the reason why I ask that is because as I grow and as I get kind of more different levels of success, I look back and I see how hard it was to get past certain things, or how hard it was to get to where I am, and putting in relation the exponential side of success, and knowing that if this was that hard, this is probably going to be harder. Yeah. And this is probably going to be harder, and this is probably going to be harder. And sometimes I have that imposter syndrome, or that self-doubt of thinking, am I actually a person that's capable of doing that? And when I get there, am I going to be the person that can handle X, Y, and Z? And I think for me, sometimes that's scary. And I think for other people, it's also scary, where it's kind of the fear of success in that way of what if it actually works? And I see that a lot with service-based industry businesses, where they are, like you said, very, very comfortable in what they're doing. They're an owner-operator, and they're operating every day and in the business every day. Yeah. And the idea of scaling and getting past that is they don't understand it, and because they don't understand it, they don't think that they're capable. 100%. Or they see the example of the uber successful person, and they look at them and they think, oh, that person has something that I don't. Yeah. Or that I don't think I'm capable of. And I think that's awesome that that's something that it sounds like you don't struggle with as much, maybe.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I got to meet this dude that was worth 11 figures, tens of millions of dollars. And I got maybe 60 seconds with this guy. And it was what questions could we ask him? What would you do if you were in your 20s? And the number one thing he said he wishes he would have done was be more resourceful, reach out to more people, like search the internet more. Anytime he got stumped by a problem, he wishes he could just have done that right off the rip. And that was like when it clicked for me. I was like, okay, like I have a great network, and my network has a even greater network. Like I can tap into this. I can really, really tap into this ecosystem that I have around me if I ever need to. Yeah. And so that's been like my whole mentality was, if I come across, something that I can't figure it out, if I can't figure it out within like a week, I'm like, okay, I need help. I'm reaching for help.
And I think like one thing that's different about you and something that people can take as an example is you're not just reaching out to these people just to like reach out, say hi, ask questions and get answers. I think one thing that's unique about you in a very good way is that you always bring value wherever that you're going. Like, and with that, whether it's just your attitude about life, your presence, or whatever it might be, like there's value added to that conversation by you. And I think that that's just something that's maybe like innate about you, because one thing I know, like even with skateboarding and sponsors and things like that, the way you get sponsors is by being a good person, not even like necessarily being the greatest skater.
By talking to people.
By talking to people and making people feel good about the sport. Yeah. There's so many like skaters or people out there that are really great athletes that are super, super good at the sport and just amazing athletes, but they aren't bringing new people into the sport. And so because they're not bringing new people, they're not getting sponsored, because the sponsors want more people around the sport, and that's your job. Yeah, is to sell the sport and by doing what you love, but it's more so about being the right type of person. And so with that, I think that you've been able to find a lot of these successes in being resourceful by being the right type of person in that. And I think people listening to this right now, thinking about how can I be the person that brings value. And it's not even necessarily like I said, bringing a bunch of different ideas and a bunch of things, like helping people change whatever it is that they want to change, but value comes from just being a presence that breeds like gratefulness and enthusiasm and like a want and a drive to become better. And I really feel like that's something that either you're born with it or you're very good at curating that.
Yeah, I've always been really good at making friends. Like I always tell my fiance this, like I can make friends with anybody, like the homeless person on the street to the richest person on the planet. Like I can become friends with everybody, and I think it definitely comes somewhat natural to me. But for me, it's more of just focusing on connecting versus anything else. I don't try to, like you said, bring crazy ideas or tell them like, this is how I think you can improve, blah, blah. Like I don't provide any unsolicited advice or things like that. I'm just a homie. That's all it is. It's just becoming a friend and listening to people and allowing people to feel heard and providing insight, when it is asked for. But it's simple as that. It's just being a friend and being a good person and having other people's best interest in mind during the conversation. I'm what's it called? Like I listen a lot more than I speak. So I think that also plays a big role in it. But focusing on connecting versus networking, because I feel like when you network, it's very transactional. Like I've gone to networking events, especially when I was in real estate, and it felt extremely transactional.
Yeah.
Like if you're not here to give me something, like then fuck off. I don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, dude, like you need to connect, find ways to connect. Like everybody has shared interests in one way or another. Like, you might be able to strike up a conversation about someone's tattoos. You might be able to strike up a conversation about like the shoes they're wearing, the car they drive, the watch they're wearing. Like for me, that's been my two biggest talking points are always like watches, shoes, and cars. It's so funny. That's how everything always connects. But everyone has shared interests. It's just being a homie and finding ways to connect with people.
Yeah, and I think like it's definitely something that can be practiced. And I think that the people that are good at it, like you, a lot of people think like, oh, this is just natural. This is like something that they do, which I think is true to a certain level. But I do think it's a very practiced thing, that you get good at it by trying and by actively, working on it.
For sure. Yeah. No, like when I was a little kid, I was the shyest kid ever. Like I remember my mom saying that like she was like kind of embarrassed to like bring me to like family events because I wouldn't even like want to talk or acknowledge my cousins and aunts and uncles. Like I was just super shy and super timid. And I don't remember exactly when it was, but I remember just like realizing that I'm like this super shy kid that just like hangs out on the playground by himself, and completely like flipping that over one year when I was like, I'm like sick and tired of this like loner lifestyle. Like I don't want to be a loner. Like, I see all these kids having a good time. Like let me just go and make friends with people. And like you said, I had to intentionally get out there and practice that. And like I like right after I graduated high school, I like for sure became a hermit like during those like 2 years, because I was just going to college and working and locking myself in my room and like not meeting new people, not talking to other people. Like all I was doing was work and school and going back to my room. And so when I got into real estate, it was a huge hump to get over because I was like so timid and nervous when talking to new people. But the only way to learn was to get uncomfortable and throw myself out there, sit open houses every single day, talk to every single person that came into that open house and try to be homie. I wasn't even trying to sell houses at that point. I was just like, let me just get good at talking to people, sparking up a conversation, holding it, and like trying my best to like leave an impression on that person that I just spoke to. Like people might not remember who you are, what your name is, what you do, but they're going to remember how you feel, how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And so that's like something I tried so hard, and I definitely got my reps in. I did hundreds and hundreds of open houses during that time period. So
that's awesome.
It's practice.
I love freaking hearing that. And similar thing happened to me when I was a kid that involved like fear. And when I was a kid, I was scared of like a bunch of things. But I didn't want to be scared. That was the biggest thing. Is like I would go ride my bikes with my friends. We would build dirt jumps, and my buddies are freaking sending it, over this. It's like a tiny little dirt jump, like a 3-foot gap, like dirt jump. And I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And then I chicken out, don't do it. And so it got to a certain point where I was like, I am done being scared. Like I'm done being the kid that's not doing things that I want to do because I'm scared. And like I was really, really scared of backflipping. And I just spent an entire day on my trampoline, forcing myself to just like try over and over and over and over again until I landed it. And that feeling of getting over that fear became like such a driving force in my life. If I'm scared of something, but I want to do it, I have to like go and get past that
Conquer
fear.
That fear.
Because I do not want to feel controlled by that aspect of my life. And that's the thing that I tell like a lot of people with like base jumping and skydiving and things like that. It's like, this is absolutely not the absence of fear. Like every single person that jumps, base jumps or skydives or whatever it is, like they are scared. Like you do feel fear, and you are sitting on that edge, like really like thinking about that fear. But the difference is that like you feel it, acknowledge it, and then have confidence in yourself to like get past it. And then feeling like the blessings of getting past that fear is like what gives you the drive to continue, because there's like a peace and a connectiveness inside of your soul that happens in that moment, because like you're like overcoming your body in a way, because I think fear is like definitely like a bodily thing, because fear mostly is trying to stop you from getting hurt. But mentally, you know that you're capable of whatever it is that you're doing. And you know that most likely the fearful thing that you're thinking about is not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so overcoming that bodily thing and achieving it has become something that like really has ignited most of the things in my life, you know, whether it's like going and talking to my girlfriend at a concert, even though I'm really, really scared at it, you know, to approach her, or the business meeting, or, you know, the sales aspect of it, going in being completely scared. I'm definitely a hermit, and like I don't love social things. Selling is very, very hard for me, and it's very, very scary walking in and doing a cold approach on a business or whatever it might be. But that has carried me through, like that idea of I'm a person that conquers fear. Yep. And I'm a person that like is in control of what my destiny is, you know, type idea. And so that's awesome. Like I love hearing that. And you see that a lot with people that are good at something. Like you look at like Post Malone, and someone was saying to him, it was like, oh, it must be like so great for you to just be naturally just a great singer and a great artist. Yeah. And he's like, did you ever watch like my first YouTube videos? He's like, I freaking sucked at singing. It's like I've practiced this, like, and I've honed this, you know, because I wanted it. Yep. And I think that's the biggest thing that people really don't understand, and a lesson that I learned in such a stark way from one of my really good friends. He's an amazing piano player, crazy good, and he was playing piano one day, and someone came up to him, and I was like standing by him, and they're like, dude, I would do anything to play the piano like you. And he looks up at him, and he's like, no, you wouldn't. And they're like, what? He's like, you wouldn't do anything to play like me. He's like, because you wouldn't put in the effort that I've put in to play like me. Like, I didn't just magically start playing like this. He's like, you could play like me, but you never will because you don't want it. I want it. And because I want it, I've got it. Like, I've put in the time. I put in the thousands and thousands of hours being really, really bad at this to get to this point.
For sure. Yeah, no, I think fear is what stops every single person on this planet. Like, they're either scared of the failure. They're either scared to fail, or they fail and then they're scared to try again. And getting out of your own way and getting over any type of fear that comes in front of you is like so empowering. Like I'm like reading the Bible for the very first time ever, and a phrase that keeps on getting repeated nonstop throughout the entire book is do not fear. Do not fear, do not fear, do not fear. It's in there over 360 times. Great. And like, why is that? Like this, you know, this book full of all this wisdom. Why is that phrase repeated over 365 times? Like, do not fear, do not fear, do not fear. Because like, it's been a known thing to stop people throughout the entire existence of humanity. Is fear is what stops people. And you look at the most ambitious, the most overachieving people, they just steamroll through any type of fear that exists. And yeah, I think it's extremely important to get over your fears and just do it. Just go out, talk to the girl, talk to the person, like make the jump. At the end of the day, I feel like imposter syndrome too. None of us really know what we're doing. We're just like figuring it out. We just decided to jump off a cliff and build a parachute on our way down, you know?
Yeah. And I can't remember where I heard this too, but it was like the difference between like a successful business owner and someone that isn't, or like just a business owner and general entrepreneur and someone that isn't, is the secret is no one knows what they're doing, but entrepreneurs just decide to do it anyways. Yep. And there's never been like a more true statement that I've heard, like in that side of things. Is just you figure it out as you do it 99% of the time. And like you said, all the resources that we have available and all the things, just like if you want it, you can definitely go and get it. And with like playing the piano and my buddy, it's just like literally it just comes down to actually desiring and wanting it and seeking out those things. And I saw this thing the other day that was interesting. It talked about that YouTube is like just a really mostly only men are on YouTube for some reason. And it's so interesting because like YouTube is such a vital part of my life that I use it every single day. And like if I'm learning how to make a thumbnail for YouTube, or I'm learning how to podcast, or I'm learning how to resurface floors or clean windows or clean carpets, or take apart my car engine and replace a part or whatever. Like YouTube is literally the source that I go to for all information in life. And it's so interesting because I don't know why it's not like as much of a tool to women as much as it is to men. It's like this girl, it was like a stand-up bit, and this girl was like, there isn't a single girl group that you go to that a girl comes and is like, hey, take a look at this YouTube clip. But every single guy group that there is, eventually one guy is going to show a clip on YouTube to that group. It's an interesting thing, you know? Yeah,
for sure. I think just, men are innately like dorks and like to nerd out about things. I think that's like that's just like how we're wired. And that's what happens, because I'm the same way. My entire life is built off the back of YouTube. Like literally, I built my entire business using YouTube. I built my, like, all the sales trainings that I've done to learn sales, the like networking ideas, even like my spirituality and learning about everything has come from YouTube. Yeah. Like YouTube is so maybe it's not underrated, but I think it's underrated. I think it needs to be. I think
it is too. I don't know. Like it's so funny because like posting some shorts and stuff, I look at my audience, it literally 100%. There's not a single woman that watched it. I have like 600 views, like literally 0 were women.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is hilarious.
I was like, that is such an interesting, because there's no other like social media that I think is like that, you know, that's so dominated by.
How cool is it though that we get to live in this world where YouTube exists? Like this compilation of all human knowledge on this platform that's not just text, but it's actual visuals and step by steps.
Dude, I'd be so stupid. I'd be so stupid. Like I think like we all like to think that if we were born in any time period, we would be like, you know, the guy that we are now, or like a successful person. And like nobody wants to think if they were born in like medieval times that they were the beggar on the street, but most likely that's who you would be, because there's like there's a freaking 100 million people on this continent, and there's 5 kings. You know, like 100%. You're not gonna be the king, dude. You're not, like, you're most likely never gonna be the knight. You're most likely gonna be the farmer that has like a very simple life. And like I am grateful every single day that I get to live in this time period and get to like experience the things that we have, and we can travel the world and use Google Maps to get anywhere in another country and don't understand a single word that anyone's saying.
You can literally talk to your phone when you're at a different country.
Yeah.
And like translate exactly what it is you want to say.
Like, even just thinking about my parents, like when they were growing up, you go to a different country and you buy a map and you're trying to like read, you're trying to read signs that you don't even know the language in. It's just wild.
Dude, 100%. But that goes also the other way, where you have to be careful how much you indulge on YouTube. And you have to be careful with how much you consume, because I've been trapped in that cycle where you're just learning nonstop. You think you're being productive, but really you're just watching 5 hours of mental masturbation. And then you don't end up taking action.
Yeah, for sure. Well, sweet. Well, I could freaking talk all day with you. But thanks for coming in. Thanks for talking. I think that where you're at is amazing, and I started my business at 23, and seeing where you're at and what you've been able to do is just really, really inspiring to me. And I'm so excited to see like your drive and your ability to use the resources around you, and just see where that takes you, and freaking reach out to you and get all the secrets along the way.
I appreciate you, brother. Likewise, this is gonna be a sick ass journey to witness unfold, and it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me, bro.